Yes, thank you very much, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural meeting of this year's LRSD Board of Trustees. Now call the September 3rd regular meeting of the Louisville School Division Board of Trustees to order. First thing is that unfortunately, as happens in our being involved in schools, we have one of our school communities is suffering a loss, and our hearts are all with that school community. And I'd ask everyone for a moment of silence for this individual and this family and school community. Thank you, everyone. First order of business is the approval of the agenda of the regular board meeting of September 3rd, 2024. That the September 3rd agenda for the regular board meeting be approved. Mover and a seconder, please. Trustee Turner, Trustee Walker, questions or comments? Call the vote, please.
Sorry. There you go. So sorry, who is mover?
Trustee Turner.
Thank you.
Turner and Walker.
Thank you very much. Problems here. Do a paper vote.
Waiting for the screens to come up.
Yeah, I'll have to do paper vote on this. So all in
By
favor
hands.
and opposed? Abstain?
Are my screens?
No, this is a verbal vote.
Okay, yeah, I vote yes.
Yes? Okay.
And the agenda has been approved. Next is the approval of the minutes of the special board meeting, June 25th, 2024. I ask if any edits are necessary. I have not heard. And that no changes are required. Have anything to say? No changes are required. The June 25th minutes will be accepted as distributed. LRSD News, we have our newly elected vice chair. Trustee Garrier will be giving us some good news and some highlights from the summer. So take it away.
Well, I guess from both of us, welcome back, everyone. And as an educator, when the autumn is in the air, the signal starts an exciting new school year with all the challenges and successes that we look forward to. There's nothing like the promise of the first day of any new school year to open the hearts and minds of our students and everyone in the community. Throughout the summer, many of us trustees have been meeting informally with each other, connecting with our constituents and attending community events. From July 3rd to 5th, I, along with my trustee colleagues Sandy Nemeth and Ryan Palmquist, attended the Canadian School Board Congress and National Trustee Gathering on Indigenous Education in Toronto. There'll be more coming later. Everyone will give you their reports, and it's truly a wonderful experience. On July 25th, trustees Ryan Palmquist, Ian Walker, Sandy Nemeth, and I visited the Summer Learning Academy, Academic Summer Learning Summer School, and Special Interest Middle School camps at Glenlawn Collegiate. Our wonderful experience was led by Justin Bell, Dion Potapinski, and Cyril Idom, and he gave us some valuable insights into the excellent programming opportunities that LRSD offers throughout the summer. I will have more on this when we have another presentation coming up. Trustee with Assistant Superintendent Cormack. On July 25th, Trustee Ian Walker, Ryan Palmquist, Sandy Nemeth, and myself had the opportunity to again tour the Aspire program, the academic summer program, including recreation and education site at École Judy Riel. And that was really well facilitated by Allison Drummond and Alexis, who were the coordinator and directors of the program. What an exciting and wonderful program. The children had fun indoors and outdoors, and the program is provided through the board at no cost participants. And the students are provided everything they need, from meals to snacks, nutrition. Actually, over 13,000 breakfasts and snacks were served. There will be more when the longer report comes. Again, thank you to Allison Drummond for providing these current statistics and for coordinating that amazing program for our LRSD students. On August 27th, Trustee Ian Walker and I attended the Leadership Council meeting at the Legacy Center. Our LRSD administrators were hard at work, networking and planning for a spectacular school year. It was a joy for us, both as educators and trustees, to see and feel the excitement and expertise and thoughtful collaboration around those planning tables as they were building the foundation for the success of the new 24-25 school year. We really appreciated being invited to this. On August 29th, the trustees were invited to meet with our MLAs, Minister Renee Cable and Mr. Jamie Moses, along with Superintendent Michalik, Assistant Superintendents Ron Cadez and Jeff Anderson, as well as the admin team at CJS. Trustee Palmquist, Nemeth, Walker, Simonyola, and I were in attendance. Some great discussion regarding lowering greenhouse gases, and more will come when we give you the full report on that. It was a productive and informative activity, and we will talk about it later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very exciting summer. Now we have the welcome and good news from the senior leadership team. We'll be having some good news from Assistant Superintendent Cormac, but I believe I'll turn it over to our Superintendent, Mr. Michalek, to say a few words.
Thanks, Trustee Sigurdsson. I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone. We welcomed all staff back today. We'll be welcoming back students tomorrow. And I want to extend a special welcome to the newest learners in LRSD. We're welcoming you into public education for a full day of kindergarten starting this September. And so, again, I'm so proud of our board for finding the courage to make this investment, or rather ask of homeowners in LRSD to make this investment for the community. Looking forward to a great year. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about our summer learning program. So when school ended in June, the learning continued throughout the summer. We had a very healthy summer learning program again this year. We had the Summer Learning Academy for high school students. We had an international student program for students that were either coming early or staying with us over the summer. And we had middle years camps once again this year, as well as our Aspire program. And so let me tell you a little bit more about who was there and how many students attended. We had 72 students attend the high school Summer Learning Academy. 9 of those students took more than one course. And so you see the breakdown there by grade: 15, grade 9, 24, grade 10, 20, grade 11, and 2012. Almost 78% of those were students from Louisville School Division, and just over 22% from outside of the division. I would say, I just can't commend the leadership of Justin Bell and Dion Potapinski anymore. I really threw a curveball at everyone at the beginning of the summer, and I asked them to really think about how our international student learning program could be more heavily integrated with our high school program. These students were all at Glenlawn Collegiate, and it just seemed like an incredible opportunity for students from around the world to learn together. And so they really took on that challenge. And so along with Cyril Indome, I just appreciate their leadership so much. So we had 17 students in our international student program who also participated in some of the activities. In terms of our middle year summer camps, over 135 students attended summer camps. Many attended more than one of the camps. So a total of 292 registrations. 19 different camps were held over the 4 weeks. Most were half-day camps, and a couple being full-day camps. No surprise, Art Extravaganza was another popular hit this year, one of the most heavily enrolled in, as well as Bake Off. We have an incredible young teacher that runs our Bake Off program for the 2nd year in a row, and so saw high numbers in that program. Feedback was very positive, both from students and parents. I'm going by quickly, but you can see some of the pictures there from the program. Finally, our Aspire program saw 380 students attend across 5 school sites. I want to thank our lead, Allison Drummond, along with teacher lead Alexis Anderson for their leadership. And an incredible opportunity again. I thank the board so much for their continued support of Aspire. It truly is, you know, just a model program for summer across the city. And so students not only had access to healthy nutrition, but had amazing field trips, amazing hip hop dance workshops, opportunity to spend time with Kukum Hilda, science workshops, and lots of opportunities for kids to connect across sites. And so a wonderful summer had by everyone.
Thank you very much. Exciting summer again. We can move on then to, unless I have any questions about it. Certainly, and just Gary as well, but she pointed out, I neglected to ask for questions on that or comments. I just comment that those are two wonderful programs. Very proud of them. Thank you for bringing.
Thank you.
You know, during budget time, we'll always talk about what this represents for our division, to see the numbers going up as well, and it's great. Was there any barriers? Was there some people who were looking to attend the camp or somewhere, and just budget wise, we couldn't make it work, or a system couldn't make it? Can you share a little bit about that? I think it'd be good to hear as we walk through this year on how do we support that program better.
I think that we could drastically increase our enrollment in our high school summer learning academy if we were able to advertise on staff earlier. I know that both Justin and Dion would have appreciated that. So that's more of an internal piece that we need to sort out. In terms of Aspire, we had just around 80% participation. Some of that was related to transportation. So we continue to look at ways to increase opportunities to get kids safely to and from. We could have in some of our sites in South Winnipeg, I'm thinking we probably could have added a third more students if we would have had more bus transportation. And so again, all of those things are part of budget and those kinds of decisions that we make. So I think those are some of our takeaways from this year. Each year we try to improve a little bit and think about it. You might recall last year we had 6 sites. And when we looked at the enrollment at a couple of those sites, it was much lower. And so we condensed a few of the sites, brought kids from further away to one of the sites to sort of have a mega site, if you will. And that was more successful this year, and reduced staff a little bit as well. So always trying to look for opportunities to improve and learn from each year's experience.
Thank you.
I just want to say, as trustees, we really enjoyed our tour, and like 380 students enrolled through 9 schools, and French, and just thought that was amazing. We all really learned a lot. And the summer learning program was another, wow, the atmosphere that's created at Glen for that summer program was inspiring.
Okay, everyone. So that leads us then to presentations to the board. Every at our regular meetings, we always like to invite folks to come and make presentations to us. So often our employees, or often different organizations, can enlighten us as board members about what they are doing. So we're going to have a discussion today about which potential presenters we can have come. But first, we could probably start off with our superintendent telling us if there's any who are lined up, or what is in the pipeline, if any.
No, we really haven't lined anything up. It's we're leaving it open to this initial brainstorming today, and I know that your board secretary is copious notes, and we'll go from there.
So I put you on the spot.
No, not at all.
So I know we've had some trustee Palmquist.
Can I start throwing them out?
By all means.
I'd like if we extend an invitation to the Green Action Center, specifically with respect to their Safe Routes to School program. I think they have a lot of valuable information about what they're currently doing and what they could be doing that I would like to hear from them, and like everyone to hear.
Excellent. So we're keeping a record of all of these, and we'll bring them up again when we can. Anyone else have any?
Yeah, we had the student board that came
Yes.
last year. Obviously, this year I suspect some faces will be the same, but some will be new with the changes in grades. I think that's something we supported, and I think we'll be like to have them come out, present something, but also maybe an opportunity for them to, I think we talked about it last year, like maybe an opportunity for them to sit in some of what we do instead of just coming and present. I think that's a good development opportunity. It's a good program. I mean, just to see who's selected this year versus last year. How many people are gonna be returning? I think it's important to see the
Excellent
ability
suggestion.
in that.
The Student Leadership Board?
Yeah.
That's one. Love to hear from them as well. Trustee Hammond.
We would have a number of trustees around the table that have heard reference to the Verigar software that we use, but I don't know that they would have actually seen it in action. So perhaps a demonstration of how we use the software and just how it informs some of the work we do and the decisions we make, and also from a data collection perspective as well. And then the other one that is of interest to me and certainly gaining lots of attention is artificial intelligence. I know people are using it. They don't necessarily equate it with being AI, but I'd be interested to know how it is deliberately perhaps being introduced to students in schools. I know there's a policy piece that's attached to that as well. And I'd just be really interested in what the conversations are and what the, you know, from a very basic introductory, the good, the bad, the ugly kind of thing. It's a way perhaps for us to start thinking about what that looks like a year or two and 5 years from now. Leaps and bounds.
Else, yes,
MHSAA would like to make a presentation, I think, in terms of number of high school kids involved and the cost that's going up, so that would be worthwhile for the board to hear. So some of our phys ed folks could join in with that presentation. I'm not sure that this is a presentation, but I'd certainly like to hear about the schools of choice numbers from outside of the division and how many we've accepted this year. So I don't know if that can just be internal, but I'd be very interested to hear about that information.
yes.
The second one, and I SLT would maybe be able to enlighten me. I understand there is at least one teacher somewhere in the LRSD teaching a robotics class. I recently learned about robotics. Apparently there are 7 robotics courses across Manitoba right now. And all of them are mostly basically the personal initiative of a teacher in the respective schools or divisions who has championed them and brought them forward. I understand I don't know the school location. One of them, I learned this because one of them is my cousin running one in Carmen. And there's one in the LRSD. I do not know where, but I would love to hear more about that program and about the robotics and engineering sector in general.
Yes, Mr. Hammond.
I'm gonna add one more, and that's roots of empathy. I know that has a great tie into our location. It's been a while, and I could use a reminder as to how the program is run, and I know there's an opportunity for some student voice in there too, and I think there's always value in students telling us what it is that what they're learning from being involved with that program.
I don't know if this would be just information that comes to the board in this meeting of a presentation, but when we went to visit CJS we were talking about sustainability and having solar panels there and some of the great work that has been done on the environmental side. It's, you know, what does the study look like, and so I could draw its future for a group and other schools, because I thought that was really neat, and how they're recycling some of that energy and all that work that has been put in there. I'm not sure how it will come to us, but I'm interested in learning more about that. It does impact our budget as well, which is something we're responsible for, but I'd like to hear a lot more about that.
Yes,
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't halfway through the year, January, beginning of February, talked to some of the full day kindergarten teachers.
Yes.
To get a report on how that's going and what wishes they would have for the following year. So I think we should follow up on that decision.
Trustee Kolachek and then Turner and then Walker.
I would like an update on the food program that we're implementing in LRC that's as part of the NDP commitment. I think it would be a good update to know what's happening and if it's working in our schools.
Yes, very good. Trustee Todd Turner.
I would like an update from the GSA. It's been a while. I
Hmm.
would like to hear from them.
That's a good idea.
How's that going?
And Trustee Walker.
It's a couple of LRSD running bike classes for the last couple of years. I've already reached out to one of them. Interested in coming out and talking about what it looked like in their school. I had feedback from one of the administrators at Provencher. Talked about how positively received in the school. How we can help encourage other schools to be getting more kids to be active.
Excellent. Vice Chair.
I think they've all been really interesting. AI that Sandy brought, it's something we talked about in Toronto, something. Of course, I think that the green school, that just always brought up, we need to know more about what we can do for our environment and construction.
Of course.
And libraries. I think it's always interesting if we can have maybe Kathy Atkins or someone come and talk to us about the current library.
Excellent, because that was going to be my suggestion. That we had the librarians come last year and it was a wonderful presentation. I'd like to get an update on that. And my other one would be the Spire. Some can come speak to us. I know it's been a while. We've been running that program for a long time. I don't think anyone's actually come and explained it. Maybe some of the new trustees in some time, and maybe some of the students who are involved can come if possible. Like that. Well, that's fantastic. A lot of great ideas. That's really wonderful to hear. So everybody's good? Excellent. So we've got all those notes. We're gonna go through all those and we'll see who's available and slot them in for our meetings. It'll be a very exciting year. Then we have board education. We're talking again about the multi-year strategic plan, MYSP. It's started the second one. This will be the second multi-year strategic plan, 2023 to 2027. And Superintendent Michalak is going to highlight the new booklet and accompanying posters that have come out.
Yes, so we're a year into the plan, but what is important over the course of the next 3 years of a 4-year plan is to keep it alive, to keep us excited about the plan. It's ambitious. We have 25 strategic actions, and so we can't lose our way. And a strategy to help us stay focused is communication. And as part of a communication strategy, we've just recently published a booklet in physical form. I saw some trustees had their copy with them this evening. You've all received a copy, and each school has been provided a few physical copies, and there's the digital copy that Secretary Treasurer Rudnicki is displaying on the screen for everyone who's joined us this evening. And he can just flip through that booklet as I talk. You can find a way to flip through it. There he goes. Oh, almost.
Fat fingers.
Yeah, you might want to use the mouse. And so it is hopefully an inspiring read. What I want to just highlight quickly is how we are trying to decolonize our approach, even strategic planning. And if we just skip over to few of the first pages, I'll tell you when to stop. If you go slowly, Jamie. Here we go. So on this page, we see the latest illustration of our strategic plan. We see a medicine wheel inspired by Anishinaabe culture. And we see the braid of sweetgrass that comes to us from the Cree culture, and teachings that come to us from our Indigenous grandparents in LRSD. And so my hope is that those who engage with this publication see a genuine attempt at decolonizing our practice, something that is authentic, that isn't just performative, and can lead to some very lasting, significant in the way we perceive the world, in the way we are in the world together in LRS. To help with the conversation in the classroom, we have 2 posters that we published. So the Secretary Treasurer can go back now to the meeting agenda and click on the links. And so that I can share with the public that's with us those posters in both English and in French. And so these posters have found their way into classrooms today so that our teachers can have an ongoing dialogue with students about the plan that they're an integral part of. And so I'm excited to share about the journey in the weeks, months, and years ahead in this second year of our multi-year strategic plan. Thanks.
Good, thank you. We're all very proud of the work that's being done on the multi-year strategic plan, and we certainly support the colonization efforts takes place. Any questions or comments on what we've just heard?
Just so happy to hear that there's posters in French as well. I was in the school earlier today. I only saw the English one, so I was wondering if it's back on print or what's going on with that. So I'm glad to hear that they were printed in both languages. Yeah, they look really nice, the posters. I'm going to replace those, but they look really nice.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, now we move on to the Secretary Treasurer Jamie Rudnicki show. Next several items, beginning with the statutory declaration.
Thank you very much. So this is the annual statutory declaration that I make to the board. So this letter is addressed to you, dear Chair of the Board. Pursuant to Section 53, subsection 5 of the Public Schools Act, this letter will constitute my statement to the Louis School Division Board of Trustees of all occupations in which I am engaged, which involve the receipt by me of money other than that belonging to the school board or to myself. As a chartered professional chartered accountant, I do have the option of maintaining a private office. I have not, however, sought or accepted any engagement during the last year, nor do I intend to do so. Consequently, I hereby state that my sole occupation is with the Louis School Division. In accordance with Section 53, subsection 5 of the Public Schools Act, I shall, during the balance of this year, report to the board any such additional occupations or any discontinuance thereof. Sincerely, Jamie Rudnicki.
Thank you very much. And so we have that the statutory declaration has been made. We have a motion that the statutory declaration made by Jamie Rudnicki, Secretary Treasurer, the 2024-2025 school year be accepted. And it's moved by Trustee Nemeth, seconded by Trustee Simoniola. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
And Trustee Nemeth. In favor. Thank you.
Hand up. That is carried.
Favor.
Thank you, Jamie. We now have the 5-year capital plan for 2025-26 to 2029-2030. And Secretary Treasurer Rudnicki and Superintendent Michelik will share that capital plan.
First, I'll have Superintendent Michelik share a few thoughts.
Yes, so Secretary Treasurer Rudnicki is going to walk you through the spreadsheet you all have had a chance to study as trustees. This spreadsheet is a provincial spreadsheet that we submitted in June. It was a different process from all of the years I've been a part of submitting five-year capital plans, and that would be going back to 2005-6. In that the government asked of us a space utilization audit. And so that busied me and Assistant Superintendent Cadez, Assistant Superintendent Anderson, and Secretary Treasurer Rudnicki for the better part of May and June. And so, and Director of Facilities Amber, thank you, Secretary Treasurer Rudnicki. Sorry, Amber. And so that's so we were busy putting together a five-year capital plan, unlike previous years. And so in keeping with our multi-year strategic plan and reporting to the community on the first year of the plan, what the community can expect to see is an accessible five-year capital plan being made available on our website as part of strategic priority 4.1, and a commitment to the community to in the fall of each year of the multi-year strategic plan, answer some essential questions as it relates to each of the strategic actions. Where are we now? How do we know? Where are we going? How will we get there? And how will we know we've arrived at a destination related to these goals we've set for ourselves? And so I'll have the Secretary Treasurer now walk you through the highlights of the five-year capital plan, with the understanding that we'll be revisiting this as part of a plan that will be shared with the community as a whole on the website in the weeks ahead.
So this is like Superintendent Schlick had mentioned, this is a provincial document. This is the template that the province sends out to all the school divisions on an annual basis, asking for our submission for a long-term five-year capital plan. So the first section that we address are any new school requests. And so for the next 5 years, we are requesting 5 new schools. The first being the replacement of the building for École Varenne. We're requesting a building to accommodate 400 students with the ability to house or accommodate 600 students. And then the other requests have to do with our ever expanding areas in the southeastern quadrant of the city. And so we're requesting a new elementary school in Precinct J. So this is the piece of land that is just north of Sage Creek and Southland Park. We're requesting an elementary kindergarten to grade 8 English school with a student capacity of 300 with a core capacity of 450 students. Next on the priority list is Precinct K. That is the area just south of Bonavista. And this is essentially a dual singular campus with 2 schools on this campus. This would be a request for a new elementary school as well as a new high school. And then finally, the last school that we've requested is for a new elementary school in Water Urban Village. And this one, I always get confused where it's at. So this is right beside the Waterside Estates, which is just off of Dugald. There is another planned development right beside Waterside Estates. And so with Waterside Estates and this new development, there is the requirement to address the growing population in that area. So that one is a request for a dual track student capacity of 400 with a core capacity of
So those are the five schools that we're requesting to be in process over the next 5 years. The next section is additions and renovations. And so we've requested from, or to the province, a classroom addition and renovation to our 3 high schools in Windsor Park, Southdale, which is J.H. Bruns Collegiate, Windsor Park Collegiate, and Collège Belleville. So this has to do with the additions that we've been working on with the province for the past few years, as well as the proposed school swap and renovations of Windsor Park Collegiate and Collège Belleville. We've also identified that our Louis Riel Arts and Technology Center requires a new renovation of its culinary arts program, as well as our aesthetics facility. In addition, we've re-requested our addition for Marion School. As you are aware, at the end of the last school year, our major addition for Marion School has been deferred. And so to ensure that the province doesn't lose sight of that project, we've re-requested that addition, as well as the Shamrock School wall replacement. That was another project that was awarded, however, has been deferred by the province. So those 2 projects, while they were initially granted, now deferred, we've captured it on the plan to make sure we haven't lost sight of it. We're also requesting École Provencher, new building envelope and windows, École Marianne Gabri, entrance addition and renovations, Windsor School, new building envelope and windows, and Glenlawn Collegiate, complete renovation of the graphics lab. Other sections, which I'm not going to go into too much detail because it'll be available as Superintendent Michalik said, be available to the public, are sections on accessibility of our buildings and some of the requests we've made. Very extensive, our top 10 list in priority, roofing projects, structural, as well as the last one. Sorry, my screen. As well as system replacements. So that would be mechanical stuff like heating, air conditioning, and the like of that, boilers. So that is our 5-year capital plan submission that we did to the province, and it'll be available to the public in the near future.
Very much. It's a lot of information. Questions or comments on that? Semignola?
Oh, I was gonna say, do you mind putting that? I don't have access to it on here for some reason, but I just want to know, because we didn't see the priority on the side or just focused on one
Oh,
side.
sure.
So do you mind just going back to the new schools to
Yeah.
see what the
So
priority assignment is?
yeah, so the priority assignment is based on the need of when the schools are needed. So we've identified to the province that École Varenne, it's the highest priority. It's a building that is in a sad state, as Christian has stated before. This is a flood relief building that was built in 1950 to last 25 years. And it's not 1975 anymore. I think we're 2024, so it's been a while. Next, it's based on priority of when the new developments are going to be up and operationalized or up and built. So Precinct J is the next development that's going to be built in our area, followed by Precinct K and Water Urban Village. So that's how the priority was assessed, was based on when these developments are going to come online.
Okay, I was surprised. I'm surprised now that I see the priority in F there, that the high school comes after the elementary school. Knowing that we'll have 900 kids in the Buena Vista, and then there's a Sage Creek, and then kids already going somewhere else, and those will probably be heading towards high school in the next 7 to 10 years. Just an observation, nothing that, I just want to know myself. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? I should note that there seems to be Trustee Semignola mentioned there seems to be a difficulty with this link We haven't been able to see this, so if we could get this,
Yeah, it's not working for me as well, so I'll make sure that wherever this spreadsheet is sitting in a OneDrive, that link is shared out
that would be wonderful. Thank you.
as a read-only link.
Any questions or comments? I'm personally very pleased to see the Wrens being the number one priority. I know that there's a lot of excitement about new schools being built in the south. We had a lot of energy and discussion about the Sage Creek, but certainly the folks who live in older communities also have needs, and it's good that we're looking at this. I've been asking a number of questions about that quite recently. Yes, Trustee Palmquist.
Yeah, echoing those comments, I wanted to ask for clarification when it comes to Varennes. I'm happy to see it's right there at the top of the list. The one question I have though seems to be at least whenever I'm present or around when our provincial colleagues are being talked to, the conversation seems to be much more focused on like the other priorities that in the south, like J.H. Bruns and Windsor Park, Bellevaux, and so forth. And I wanted to ask whether Varennes is getting the same treatment through some of those informal lobbying channels as those other locations.
Superintendent can answer that.
Yeah, so, yeah, I can understand your confusion. And if you're confused, I can understand the public's confusion. And it's why I wanted you to see the spreadsheet and walk you through the spreadsheet and have you go into the spreadsheet. So the government has different areas of priority. So one has to understand that when it comes to additions, we have number one priorities. When it comes to additions and renovations, and those are our three high schools: J.H. Bruns Collegiate, Windsor Park Collegiate, and Collège-Béliveau. In parallel, we have priorities as it relates to new builds, and our new build is in an established neighborhood where we have a building. If we don't get approval for a new building, then we're going to be spending a lot of money renovating, making that building suitable for students and staff. And so it is a challenge to understand that one can have priorities in parallel in different buckets of infrastructure dollars.
Certainly.
Not necessarily related to just our school division, but I imagine many school divisions are in the same position where we're in a crunch for space. And reading in the news, the provincial government is short on cash. So hope we're having a realistic conversation. Provincial government allocating the school, making decisions, moving students around to catchments. I'm generally an optimistic person. And I echo what Ryan said about École Varennes. I really think that is top priority. I was talking to the administrator there. Sounds like work that would need to be done. Can the building even be fixed? It was only designed for 25 years.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, yes.
Well, this is why we looked to the experts, an engineering firm, to tell us whether, what would be the wisest course of action. Spending dollars to renovate the building or build a new school. And so the experts are telling us, the experts we've consulted with are telling us the most responsible approach would be a new school. Now, other provinces can do this. Over the course of the many years that I've been involved in school construction, have visited new school builds in provinces across the country where I have been in schools, new schools built in established neighborhoods that, for example, inspired the builds in Sage Creek. So other provinces have found the wherewithal to build new schools in established neighborhoods, not just new neighborhoods. I believe in Manitoba, I think we can find that same ability here.
I think we can get, become better at as well too. I didn't even realize that fixing it was part of that. And the other thing with these new communities, I'm a real believer in the strong towns movement. Communities paying for development, paying for the schools that need to go into them. Been doing advocacy work for Winnipeg for many, many years. You know, the city's having a heck of a time putting community clubs and their amenities into these communities because income coming. So I really feel like the leadership of our division and our city and our province need to get together to figure out how to make these communities more sustainable so that they can pay for the infrastructure that's required for them. We're not putting kids on buses and sending them across the school division. Desirable.
Good, thank you.
Could I just,
Response? Yes.
I just, you know, I have an idea because I'm aware of for how many years the senior leadership team has been working to solve problems that we know are coming, but are not yet here.
Yes.
And so for new trustees, they might not be aware of the work, incredible work that has gone on year after year after year to forecast all of that. And so it might be useful for new trustees to actually have a session with members of the senior leadership team that have been at the core of doing that forward planning for many, many years, anticipating what the problems would be. And now they're on our doorstep and no one should be surprised. And we could tell you in 10 years' time what your next set of problems are going to be. Long after I'm gone, I can be honest. And so we know what those are and have the data to show, and using Derriger and other systems and tell you where the trouble is going to be. And so it might be useful for new trustees to spend some time understanding that work that has gone into.
Trustee Nemeth?
I would go further and say all trustees.
Fair enough,
I think
yeah.
it would be, and I really like that idea because, to your point, a lot of that operational work is kind of what you do every day. It's a huge opportunity for the board, in terms of governance, but advocacy in an elected capacity, to talk to our elected counterparts everywhere, like city council and provincially, to do exactly what you've just said, is that, you know, this is what we were telling you 5 and 10 years ago, and we're past that and we're still telling you, and oh, by the way, to your point, here's what else is coming, and everything was laid out, like Trustee Sigurdsson and I will clearly remember when we joined the board in 2014, it was, are you kidding that we're gonna be talking about this Sage Creek being what it is? Well, we're way past that now, right? And asking for 2 schools in 2010 and not getting them, and now what is it costing us to build that school? More than double. Which is money that could have been spent elsewhere. So I don't question the fact that spending has to be done judiciously and with great planning. But at the same time, this board has a role in terms of conversations with elected officials that are ours to have, and which is why our community elected us, and really starting to push some of that based on solid data and information. And I think there's huge opportunities to, and then communities come along, right? Because they're experiencing it, boots on the ground, and we've got the other piece that says.
Yeah, if you're a visual learner, just drive past Tim Hortons, past the Old Packers, and count how many stakes are in the ground.
Yeah.
And ask yourself where all those kids are gonna go to school.
Yeah.
Look how much room we have at Archwood and look at how much room we have at Marion, and see where you're gonna send those kids.
I agree there needs to be space, but my concern is that there isn't enough revenue coming out of those developments to pay for the amenities. When a new development gets built, there isn't money put aside by the folks doing the developing to pay for the schools, the community, the police departments, and fire departments. That comes from general revenue. And looking at what the provincial government's saying about tightening belts, I'm just, we're one metro school division of several, and I imagine they all have lists like this.
Fair enough, but the solutions actually, they have to come from us eventually. We have to figure out tomorrow where those kids are going to go to school. And if there's no room in the inn, they have to go somewhere. And so they get on a bus and go to the next available spot. It's not a great solution for anyone, but Yeah, it's a complicated one.
I'd love to be a part of the conversation.
Trustee Palmquist?
Building off the great comments everyone has said, I'd like to put forward again the suggestion I had brought forward last year about the exploring utilizing the development levy tool that is available for municipalities to use, that has only once been used in the city of Winnipeg's history in the form of the Charleswood Transportation Levy. There is a bylaw that is available, that is open-ended, that can be used to fund any service indefinitely, a local area charge that can be applied to new neighborhoods. Never been used for this purpose. It's only ever been used in Charleswood to fund the regular road maintenance infrastructure there and the extension of William Clement Parkway. That tool is available. I want to thank my colleague trustee Nemeth, who suggested, who asked me for more information about that levy at the time, suggested maybe it might be appropriate as something to come forward to the MSBA in the future. I just want to bring it up again and say there is a tool that is potentially available for funding schools or other services in new suburban areas. And I'd like to just raise that back up to the top of everyone's mind and see if we can continue looking into that.
Thank you. Maybe the MSBA can also look into that.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. Let's follow, someone who has a question?
Yeah, I think not just one of the reasons why we put this list together. It's not necessarily that the government is gonna fund 100% of it, but we have to think of it from a strategic standpoint that this is what we're willing to do. And some of this was put together to the previous government, and then it transitioned to another government, and eventually transitioned to another government. It's all part of kind of a future looking, what is our strategy as an organization, right? So we're putting this together because Assistant Superintendent Comac said, we have to look at, in my area, I live in Sage Creek, there's probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 apartments that have come up just in the last 3 years. And in the summer, you'll see everybody playing, and being on this, in this seat, I'm always wondering where are these people gonna go for school? And if anybody's gonna take a bus, what bus are they gonna take, since we don't have, public buses that are regular in the area? Even Buena Vista is the same. So, but I think we have to, too bad that doesn't go to 2040. But like, those things are coming, and we have to continue at them. But to Ian's point is that we have to continue to press the government on the need and the priority. And I'm sure they're looking at a priority of everywhere else, but it's good for us to press on what our priorities are.
Good, yes, Mr. Kolachik.
I just want to make a point of process that we can't direct the MSBA president just because she's on our board to do something, that a letter actually has to come from the chair of the to the MSBA to request information and action.
Ready? Thank you.
Well, it's a privilege to have the MSBA president as a trustee on there.
Just get used to it. Any case, any other questions, comments? I just want to thank trustee the motion to the Superintendent Cormac for those comments, and it's very important for us all to remember. And again, Nemeth mentioned this, our 2 of us being the longest serving on the board, that we're very, very grateful, and we're very, very lucky to have the work of our whole team, forward thinking and forward planning. And that's one of the reasons why we have been successful, is that when we go and talk to government, we have the facts and we have the numbers, and they often don't believe us, but it works out well that we are well prepared because of the folks that work for us. Much appreciated. That's a great discussion, and thank you everyone for that. And now we move down to capital D projects. Again, Secretary Treasurer Rudnicki.
Thank you very much. And so just as a clarification to the public, the difference between the capital plan and capital T projects is that capital plan, these are large provincially funded projects, whereas capital D are smaller projects that are partially funded by the province, but the majority of it is funded by the division. So at the special board meeting held on March 12th, the Board of Trustees approved in their 2024-2025 budget, a budget of $1.4 million for capital D projects. Of that, a little over $420,000 is coming from the province, and the remaining roughly $1 million is internal dollars that we are setting aside for special capital projects. And so the listing that I distributed basically lists the plan of capital projects for the 2024-2025. It is centered around various project priorities, centering around safety and security, accessibility, building improvement, and that's it, building improvement. And from there, what we do as senior leadership team in consultation with our director of maintenance operations is assess the needs throughout the division and allocate resources to address those needs. So they could be anywhere from replacing carpet, replacing windows, soundproofing areas, installation of ramps and wheelchair accessibility, washroom renovations, and portable air conditioning, just to name a few. So the attached report for you today just lists the schools and the projects for the 2024-2025 school year.
Thank you. You can all see the link. Any questions or comments on the capital E projects? Yes, Mr. Turner.
I just have one. You said that the province is funding $428,000. Is this the full amount? Like these amounts are the full amount or just LRSD's portion of the bill?
Those are the total cost of the project.
Yes.
And so also part of this reporting structure we're creating connected to the multi-year strategic plan and specifically strategic action 4.1, what the board can expect to see in the coming weeks and updated annually is again in a public friendly accessible format. This capital D report will be made public and show what we're doing relative to strategic action 4.1 and relative to all the needs in school that have been identified by staff in school, so that we can all have a much deeper understanding and perspective on the needs in schools, those infrastructure needs that are going unaddressed.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good. Okay, thank you very much. That's the finance section. We move on to the staffing section. And we have a staffing update from Assistant Superintendent Jean-Paul.
So to provide you with an overview of what's been happening in terms of numbers of hire over this staffing season, which began in the spring. To date for teacher and clinician positions, we have posted 297 positions, 285 of those have been hired to date. Of that 285 new teachers or clinicians, we have 63 new grads and 60 experienced external candidates who made the decision to join us in LRSD. Of our postings, our 297 postings, 208 of those were for permanent positions. Looking at our educational assistant groups, we've had 179 positions posted to date with 151 hired. And that's 72 who are not permanent or term to LRSD, and 88 of those positions are permanent hires. Within our support group, that includes clerical, custodial, and non-union support positions. We've had a total of 63 positions posted with 48 individuals hired to date, 24 of those positions not being currently perm or term position or employees in the division. So as you can see, that's 539 positions posted so far in the staffing season, and the staff services team has been working very hard to support our schools and other sites. Just of note, included in those numbers are the 23 permanent K and 3 term K teachers that we included. to facilitate our full day K. You'll recall early in the spring, those were the first positions we posted. Managed to fill those quite quickly in being able to work closely with our colleagues at LRTA on that. It also, that number of the K teachers included 1 new grad and 5 experienced externals. So again, the full day kindergarten was something that was very appealing to external candidates as well.
Very good, thank you. Questions or comments? Yes, trustee Turner.
Are we fully staffed for the school year? Are there gonna be teachers in all of the classrooms?
Yeah, all of our permanent classroom positions have been filled. There are always new term positions that arise in the summer, often times whether it's, you know, illness or for other family reasons, but all of those permanent positions were staffed and filled.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Justice Superintendent Paul. We move then to the secondment, the Divisional Vice Principal of Indigenous Education. Pass it over to Superintendent Mishuk.
The Manitoba government, and specifically the Manitoba Early Childhood, Manitoba Education and Early Childhood Learning reached out in June, in late June, asking of us to consider allowing one of our divisional vice principals to be seconded to the department. And although this came to us late, past the date where typically we allow for movement between school divisions and departments, we agreed to allow Bobby Joe Leclerc, Divisional Vice Principal of Indigenous Education, to be seconded to the province. And so we're bringing this to you to vote on as a board, given you approve the recommendations coming from the senior leadership as they relate to principalships and vice principalship in LRSD, as we interpret the Public Schools Act to obligate us.
Questions or comments? Very proud of the quality of the Indigenous education specialists we have, usually that we're sought after in such a capacity, so thank you for that. Next is the
Chair, this is a motion.
oh, is there a motion?
Yep.
Ah, there we go. No, so the motion is that Bobby Joe Leclerc be seconded to the government of Manitoba effective September 3rd, 2024 to June 27th, 2025. Mover and a seconder. Garrier, Kolachuk. Questions or comments besides what I just said? Call the question. All those in favor? You in there? What's accounted for? Very good. The motion is carried. Congratulations, Bobby Joe. And we move to another one, appointment of Divisional Vice Principal of Indigenous Education. And that would be again, Superintendent Mishuk to explain.
Now that the board's approved the secondment, we have to fill the vacancy. And so over the course of the summer, we had a posting go out and interviewed candidates, and we are bringing forward a successful candidate, Kelsey Lanigan, a teacher in LRSD who's been supervising the Indigenous language team, and now will expand her role to supervise the whole of the Indigenous community.
We're in a second for this one as well. Trustee Walker. Seconder, Trustee Turner. Questions or comments about this appointment? Not, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Vote's been recorded. Matter's carried. Thank you very much. Congratulations to Kelsey. Now we move on to chair information from the board. The first one is the National Trustees Gathering Indigenous Education and Canadian School Boards Association, the CSBA. Took place last July. And we had trustees Nemeth, Palmquist, and Guerrier were there. Perhaps I'll pass this to past chair trustee Nemeth to kick us off.
Yeah, so this was an annual event that CSBA hosts, well attended by trustees across the country. Of significance was that there was the presentation of the inaugural National Reconciliation Partnership Award to the Cowichan School District in BC and their partner organization. Number of really good keynotes, Dr. Marie Batiste on decolonizing education, a local voice and decision-making at the school system level across Canada by Dr. Katina Pollock, who was here at MSBA in March. A keynote and breakout session on artificial intelligence, and of course, the AGM, which saw Alan Campbell re-elected as president. Alan is the Lake School Division Board of Trustees, and Jamie Smith Windsor, who is the president of the Saskatchewan School Boards Association, acclaimed as vice president. So a really good opportunity for networking and meeting trustees, both brand new and veteran, and certainly an opportunity to renew some acquaintances and take part in some really good and deep learning with lots of good conversations. So it's always, I consider it a very good investment in professional development. It is Canadian focused and lots of parallel conversations and issues and challenges being faced. So also an opportunity to see how different jurisdictions are navigating things similar to what we're trying to handle. So it was, I appreciate that we have that opportunity afforded to us as trustees, and it's always good to just do a check-in with folks across the country.
That's Chair Nemeth, perhaps trustee Palmquist. His thoughts?
Yeah, I would report to the board as happy I went, and I certainly thematically, as trustee Nemeth said, there were a lot of great messages. I found myself wanting sometimes for direct applications or sort of next steps beyond the strategic level, particularly on the decolonizing side, like in terms of what the specific actions we could take are. I found myself kind of wanting for those sometimes, which was not a unique phenomenon to this event, but pretty cute. One, I had a couple of very unique, interesting, specific takeaways. Learning about the student trustee program in Ontario was very interesting. Essentially, they have regular high school students who are elected by their peers who sit on their school boards in meetings like this. And the only thing that they don't participate in is the in-camera meetings where human resources matters and confidential stuff are discussed, and their votes are non-binding. But they participate fully in a meeting exactly like this as a student. And I found that to be very, very interesting. And how that's operationalized. Would have liked to have learned a little bit more, but most of the discussion about that was concentrated on their governance structure rather than internal, rather than kind of how that's done. But I would like to learn a lot more of that. There was also a very great presentation on ransomware attacks to school divisions, which I found very interesting in the sense that the primary takeaway actually from the group giving advice from another school division elsewhere in Canada that had suffered a data breach and the theft of large amounts of student and professional data from the division. And their advice was actually do nothing, and it's not as serious as it at first looks. And that the theft of large quantities of raw data that isn't synthesized into a usable format is actually worth very little for in the resale market, and that first step is don't panic and avoid bringing additional costs to yourself. This isn't to say that this is an inevitable thing that would happen to LRSD, but large scale data breaches and cyber attacks are an increasingly almost routine aspect of large organizations, and it's something that very easily could happen to the LRSD. And it's something that we should give some thought to in advance in terms of what our immediate reaction might be in the first hours after it happens. Which is, in their advice, was when impulsive and rash decisions were made. Remember that raw data is not as usable as it at first appears. Not like in the movies. And the last thing I would take away is that the AI presentation, I actually disagreed pretty strongly with a lot of what the presenter said. I think that it is in keeping with the general culture around AI right now. I think that there is a lot of hype around AI, and there's a lot of assigning the word AI to any innovation in technology, in the technology field that isn't necessarily AI. The presenter noted at least 3 products as being an example of AI that are not AI. Which I had concerns about, and the representative also recommended that school divisions adopt AI immediately into all of their operations in spite of well-known problems, as well as us adopting it all immediately into our personal lives, and essentially recommended a highly experimental sort of shoot from the hip approach, which I strongly disagree with. I think that per Sandy, Trustee Nemeth's comments earlier, the AI conversation is good. I'm glad you brought it up as something that we should be talking about. And I think that conversation should be done first and foremost from a posture of skepticism towards what we're seeing from the industry.
Thank you
And
for
what
that.
they're- Yeah.
Here,
Okay, in my quest for deeper understanding of trustee leadership, as well as an interest in networking with fellow trustees across our country, I decided to attend the conference, which was a great decision. I found the sessions were excellent, speakers were high quality, and it was really a good opportunity for networking, plentiful learning. So every day they started with a smudge ceremony, which I thought was a good way to ground us. Our first keynote speaker was a woman called Dr. Mary Batiste, and I have followed her for years, and I've always wanted to meet her. She did decolonizing education and nourishing the spirit. I've heard her speak many times, not in person, and each time that she presents, I learn, and I got to spend some one-on-one time with her, which was really fantastic. She had a breakout session, which was decolonizing education, and it was a reflection session, so it gave us a chance to really dig in. I would say this is probably the highlight of my conversations. Then I went to the same breakout session as Ryan did, and I was kind of enthralled with the AI thing. The presenter, she kind of said how AI is being used across the world and what extent, and her message was that we all need to learn it. The end message was embrace it, not fear it. It's the way of the world. My colleague Ryan Palmquist asked her very pointed questions and got a really good debate going. So I was really impressed with that because you know a lot more than I do. That was it was really helpful for us. They had a guy who was a future education strategist who talked about building a future-ready education system. So all the speakers were really thought-provoking. I really liked what Ryan actually liked with the student trustees. I would have liked to know a little bit more, really Ontario focused, and just getting the minutiae part was not enough for me. The entertainment, they had Indigenous singers, they had dancers, we had greetings from the Honorable Edith Dumont, and she's the 30th Lieutenant Governor, and she's also an educator. So she was actually a distinguished educator who has a master's degree in education, and she really understands education. So for Ontario, that's fantastic. So I really loved the conference. I found there's lots of good topics and the chance to speak with other trustees, and it was a really valuable learning experience, and I'm super glad I went. So thank you for the opportunity and sending.
everyone, that sounds very lively. Yeah, a lot of very valuable learning for us. I appreciate, we all appreciate you all attending. Any questions or comments on the CSBA? Thank you. The next is the Congress of Black Parliamentarians. Trustee Semignola attended that. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that would be me. First and foremost, I do want to congratulate trustee Sigerson earlier on being voted as our chair in this current year. And trustee Gary as well. Congratulations both. This, I have never actually heard of this prior to me attending, but I do want to say that it was interesting that for Manitoba, we were probably outside of Ontario and Quebec, we're probably the largest represented. And of that, there was 3 trustees, one from the Pimlico Trails, Brandon, and myself, and our deputy premier was there as well. It's interesting how the whole event is not just focused, let's say, on education, but most of what we discussed came around to education, whether it's housing, whether it's an initiative around youth or around education, around poverty reduction. All those kind of centered around some of the stuff that we also talk about on this table. I don't want to say that I was walking with my head held high of how proud I was of some of the work that we're already doing here, because I had other, not just trustees, but other government officials from other areas in the country talk about some of the initiatives they would like to see in their communities. And a lot of them we're already doing here with Aspire program, with Benetta Alum Center, with even just as simple as our data being available, that everybody can see what a demographic looks like. Something like that is something that's in some areas they're fighting for to get, even as a trustee, not let alone being public in Power BI the way we have. So it's really one, enlightening because you're learning about similar issues that everybody's having in the country. Second, also coming up is what are some of the solution, and there was also bipartisan. So there was those liberals, conservatives, and trustees were nonpartisan councillors as well. So it was a really great learning, and also I got to show off a little bit about some of the stuff we're doing. I'm not gonna lie, but also proud of the work that we're doing here. But it was a great experience.
Excellent. Valuable. Questions or comments on this experience? Good. Thank you again, Trustee Semidiola. Is this gonna be an annual thing? Or is it?
I know they canceled it for a couple of years and it came back last year, so I'm not sure if it's going to be annual. There are discussions that maybe we'll move it around. So maybe it'll be in Winnipeg, who knows?
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
And another report from. So the next issue is a series of meetings that were held with some of our provincial cabinet ministers. I'm gonna pass this over to our past chair, Senator Emmett, who was the facilitator and leader of these meetings. Discuss.
Yeah, thank you. So on August 29th, the superintendent and I met with Ministers Altamari and Cable. This was a rescheduled meeting that was originally going to take place in June. And we took the opportunity to reinforce the need for go ahead and a commitment to the work that needs to be done at J.H. Bruns Collegiate, at Winter Park Collegiate, and College Benbow. We left feeling that we had been heard. We were led to believe that it was going to be move forward in the government's timetable in terms of granting that approval. And I think it was the best outcome I could have hoped for, and I would look to the superintendent to add anything to that, but it was a positive conversation. To the extent that the Minister Altamari requested tours of those schools, and we are in the process of setting that up office to office. And it occurs to me that maybe we could loop in and pull that in as well as a way to press home the needs of that school, but on a different priority list. So then on the 29th, we took the opportunity to invite Ministers Moses and Cable, who hadn't yet seen the new edition at College Jean-Sauvé, so there was a group of us that gathered there. And especially it was perfect timing, given that the day before we met, the Free Press had done a story on the solar panels at the roof of College Jean-Sauvé. And so they were quite intrigued, asking really, really good questions and lots of curiosity about the how and the when and all that. So I think it was given that we're the first correct me if I'm wrong, the first school in Manitoba with solar panels. It was quite an opportunity for us to be able to showcase that and just talk about process. And one of the vice principals took some time to talk about how much of the energy and the wastewater and other things are captured and recirculated, reused, whatever the word is, so that it really is quite a self-sustaining little hub there. And I think the MLAs were really quite intrigued about what this might look like, you know, as they expand further. So again, really positive, something that we should build on in terms of maintaining those contacts, both with written communication and visiting with them and inviting them to an annual conversation. So I don't know if anybody else that was involved wants to add anything, but I thought it was all very.
Trustee Walker.
It was a great meeting with those folks. Exciting to hear that our school division is one of the leaders on green energy. You know, one of the less sexy things at the school was that there's a cistern in the basement that collects rainwater to flush the toilets. That's a great idea. But they brought that, I toured the school earlier. I also brought up that the school continues to be heated with natural gas. And we really need to be having a conversation as leaders in the province on weaning ourselves off of burning hydrocarbons to heat our buildings. So I noted in that last document of, you know, priorities for the division, there was a couple of buildings that for boiler replacements. So I'm hoping that perhaps we would have a conversation in the coming months about starting to consider using heat pumps to heat and cool our schools, especially the schools. I know there's a number of schools in our community that don't have air conditioning. I teach at a school that doesn't have air conditioning. It can become impossible in the month of June or even late May if we have high temperatures. So, you know, we really need to be looking at that and then also using an equity lens to ensure that our population can be comfortable when they're learning, even when it's 35 degrees outside. Anyways, thanks to all of you that joined us. That will be part of the conversation.
Thank you. It's all very true. Any comments or questions about these meetings? Good, thank you. It's good to have regular interaction with our provincial colleagues. Next, we move into the senior leadership team information to the board. There's a lot of it here. I know various the assistant superintendents will be giving this, but I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Michalik to start us off.
Right, and I'm just going to start by acknowledging the tremendous amount of work that has occurred over 2 months in schools in LRSD, and I want to applaud the staff that have been busy making this a reality, the staff and the contractors that were given the work. And so we're going to have the senior leadership team, starting with our secretary treasurer. Starting with Assistant Superintendent Anderson. They know the order. They're going to walk us through the updates.
Very good. Thank you. Beginning with École Howden, there has been continued enrollment growth at École Howden, and third kindergarten class is needed for this coming year. So a room that was previously used for other purposes has been refreshed. It looks beautiful. The teacher has been in setting everything up when I visited last week, and it is ready to go for the beginning of the year. Student services, which formerly occupied that space, needed a new space, and there was a hallway area that allowed for addition of office space to be created, and hats off to the design team. You wouldn't know that it wasn't always there and just fits in very naturally. At École Provencher, this is one of our older buildings. For those online that are maybe not familiar with it, it's a 3-story building. Recently, there has been addition of hardware on the windows so that students can't fall out of the windows accidentally. 3 stories, it is a concern. At École Sage Creek Bonne Vista, if you've had a chance to drive by that area, you'll see that work is progressing very well. We have photos that we can give you an overview of some of the work that is taking place. From both inside, there's 19 pages of photos. I don't think we're going to have time to go through them all. And that's just in the first document. But to say that the building is coming along, meeting all of the targets, and we are definitely aiming for an on-time completion of this building to open in September 25. The next building on my list is École Van Bellingham. Where again, additional space was needed for a kindergarten classroom, and space from the library was used to create this. Don't be alarmed, the library at École Van Bellingham was enormous, and it remains larger than some of our other libraries, even after a portion was taken out to create a kindergarten classroom. Again, I visited the space, it's beautiful. In fact, it's the envy of all of the other teachers in the building who wish that they were teaching kindergarten in that space this year. And at General Vanier, some accessibility improvements were made to stairwells to make them more friendly to students with special needs. So these stairwells represented a significant climbing and fall hazard for some students in the building. And with these modifications, the space is now much safer for all students. And I'll pass it on to Highbury School.
Perfect. At Highbury School, we've added an additional kindergarten classroom, and to facilitate that, multi-purpose room has been converted into a classroom. It was converted into a new music room, leaving that former space, which was more easily turned into a kindergarten class available. That has taken place. Everything is in good shape and ready to go. If you've driven down St. Anne's Road, popped by RDC, you will have seen the extension of the parking lot, which is a huge bonus for that community. The traffic into the René Delorme Center, the Morrow Avenue Child Care Center, as well as the school is quite significant. And so the additional parking that's available will help, I think, improve some of the traffic woes that have been a part of that parking lot. And so hopefully when you're there next time, you'll find a spot and visitor to actually park. At Marion School, with the deferral of the addition, we have 2 pieces of work that were of concern. And so the first was the requirement by the city for a new approach into Marion School. And so we have been able to move that forward as part of the initial elevator and envelope project. And so the Central Services has agreed to the funding of that. And so that work is moving forward. The second item that is required is updates to a drainage system that is under the school in the field. And so some of you might recall some flooding that we had at Marion School last year. So this drainage work is required to ensure that that doesn't repeat. And so currently we are in dialogue with Central Services about a cost that they find acceptable. And so the scope of the work is narrowing based on that back and forth, but we're hoping to come to a resolution very soon so that we can get on with that work before any further flooding could happen. And that is it for me. So I will pass it
My turn.
to you.
Thank you. So Jean Sauvé has undergone an extensive addition and renovation. And the last parts are the exterior of the school. And so over the summer, the parking lot has been paved, it's complete. And there's some landscaping going on right now. We're just waiting for some clearance from Hydro before planting the remaining trees. And we expect to do that once we get the approval from Hydro. At École Marianne Gabouri, there was some washroom renovations going on in the gender neutral washroom. A refresh was completed over the summer, which created 8 private floor to ceiling stalls. And this includes new lighting, paint, sinks, countertops, and flooring. That work is also complete. Island Lakes Community School had a couple of major renovations over the summer in the inside of the building. One of them was to convert some space in the library. So the library was basically cut in half. And the back half was created 2 classroom spaces to accommodate the increased enrollment, which left the other half as a remaining library space. It's still a very functional library space and will still be used as a library and have access for classrooms. The 2 classrooms that were created on the back half of the library have these wonderful large windows that face out on them and wonderful well-lit spaces. And we will be getting occupancy for those this week. And we also created 14 new washroom spaces in the building as well. That initially had been planned to do in phases where we'd have some of them complete before the school year started and others afterwards. But the contractors did such an amazing job, they got it all done. And once we get the city to provide us with the occupancy permit, the occupancy will be increased to 950 students and 1 staff with the new washrooms added. So that has gone really, really well. If you take a drive by Island Lakes, you may notice that there is some modular classroom construction going on behind the building. And that was to accommodate the 2 portables or 2 modular classrooms that were approved by the province in the spring. And so the part of that addition is going to be resulting in the creation of a lane to access the buildings. And so a fire hydrant installation was completed on August 23rd. And the pavement of that surface, as well as hauling stone to the area, has begun this week. We also had to move the tables, benches, bike racks, and trees in that area in discussion with full leadership. That was all placed in very strategic areas, and that's all well laid out now and very accessible to the students in the building at recess time. The concrete foundation for the modular classrooms has been poured. It's complete. It's ready to go for the installation. And we're aiming to place the modulars on the foundation sometime next week. The power and communication line installation is expected to begin at the end of next week, and occupancy is targeting the middle of October for those 2 portables. In the interim, 2 classes that are supposed to be in the portables will instead take place in the gym. So the classroom spaces have been created in the gym, and phys ed activities will take place outdoors up until time that the occupancy of the portables is taken by the school. Along with that, the province announced that we were going to get 2 more modular classrooms moved from École Saint-Anne to Island Lake School. And so we are in communication with the city at the moment to get the necessary permitting in place to expedite that process and to have that done sooner rather than later. And communication about all that went to the families at Island Lakes Community School last week. G.H. Bruns Collegiate has been having a roof reinforcement project underway for a while. The final stages were completed with a few deficiencies noted in the final walkthrough. The contractor is committed to addressing those deficiencies after school hours and on in-service days, but they are minor in nature in comparison to the work that has taken place. So for all intents and purposes, that work is complete. And the structural wall repair, there was a recommended repair related to water seepage in room 107. And in the northwest corner of the school, that work was completed in the summer where excavation took place outside of the building, a new weeping tile system put in, epoxy filling in the joints, and installing a waterproof foundation membrane along with backfill, all completed prior to the school year starting. And again, communication sent to families last week. And finally, Shamrock School added a new classroom demising wall in an area that was used for storage previously. They added a bike storage room and 75 new lockers, and all that work is also complete. Lots of work going on in the summer, and the contractors and our maintenance team did an amazing job making it on time.
Is the bike storage room for staff only, or is it for everyone?
No, that's for the bikes being used for students with additional needs.
Well, that's a lot of work going on. Any further questions or comments about any of these projects? Just Manila?
For Marion School, I'm glad you brought that up. I drove by the outside, and it's a scaffolding in the front. When do we expect everything to be completely done? I know last year we're doing in phases, and it's hard because it's still occupied. As we go into the second year, do we have a timeline on when all that is going to be completed?
Yes, we thought it would already be completed, and so we're just working to complete the front entryway, front entrance as a priority. I don't have a specific timeline, but I can bring that forward to our next meeting.
Okay, the next one, I think at the end of the year, last year, unless if I missed some sort of update, but we had the art center, there was some issues, I guess, was it the roof or the air within one of the classrooms?
Arts and tech,
Yeah,
it was the kitchen.
yeah. Was it the
The
kitchen?
exhaust system in the culinary space,
Yeah,
and
we-
so in the report that Secretary Treasurer Ridnicky gave, it's one of the capital budget requests.
Oh, okay, so and that's what I was gonna ask, like, it's just a request at the moment, there's nothing being worked on, so it's, that place is not accessible.
Part of that 5-year capital plan, one of, on the additions page that you saw right
Yeah.
after J.H. Bruns, Windsor Park and Belleville, the next one on that list was.
Oh, okay, so there's no work that's being done yet, because there's no funding for it yet. So that's not a usable space at the moment.
We generally have 2 cohorts of students in the culinary arts space. Because of the work that needs to be done right now, we're hosting 1 cohort. We're looking for alternative ways to invite a second cohort to start in February with some modifications to their program and accessing potentially some opportunity at the RDC Community Kitchen for parts. So we're looking for solutions in the meantime to go back to having 2 cohorts.
Okay, it is a popular program, that's why I asked, so I'm glad.
Very
that-
popular.
Yeah, that there are other options for that, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good. Well, thank you for that, all of you, for the very comprehensive report on all the wonderful work that's being done to our buildings. We can go next to the back to school update from the early childhood. And turn it over to Superintendent Michelin.
Yes, and I'll ask Secretary Treasurer Ridnicky to open the link for folks joining us online and just move to the agenda where we had the Deputy Minister accompanied by several of his team, other Assistant Deputy Ministers, share some important information with all school divisions in August. They talked about a launch of the framework for learning coming soon. So as soon as that launches, that site launches, we will be facilitating learning for teachers to access this new website and the resources available. They shared information about a data collection project and some timelines. And that data collection is related to a dashboard project. So inspired, they've been very open about that, inspired by the work we're doing with Power BI, leveraging Power BI and LRST. The province is doing the same. And we're going to see data dashboards. Essentially, the existing reports that are spreadsheets will become Power BI reports in the near future. And then eventually new reporting will be considered at some other stage, but in phases 1 and 2, essentially, it's about modernizing the reports that are already on the website. They touched on the nutrition program and having assessed all the plans we had submitted as school divisions to the province and approving those plans, and you'll learn more about how that all plays out in LRST at future meetings. We talked about education funding, a new funding formula later this year. But I don't have details beyond that. We talked about the need for childcare spaces. And finally, we talked about the cell phone ban and how that was to play out in schools. So you have the details of it in the PowerPoint. Once we have permission from the province, from the Manitoba government, relative to sharing content in the PowerPoint, we'll make that available on the website for everyone. Or we'll link to the provincial website. That's it.
Good, thank you for that information. Questions or comments on that information? Good, pretty much appreciated. We moved on then to the leadership meeting that took place on August 27th, 2024. Again, our superintendent will share the highlights of that leadership meeting.
Yeah, very quickly, you have the PowerPoint. I made it a PowerPoint link so that you could, at your leisure, look at the thinking that went on, the learning that occurred. on slide 26, you can actually see several live updates of conversation that occurred involving all principals and vice principals planning for the year. And you couldn't see that if I hadn't shared the PowerPoint. And so the morning was spent connecting to each other and connecting to the multi-year strategic plan. And as I've observed on slide 26, we can see what that generated if Secretary Treasurer just skips over to that slide. And so this is the start of a conversation that will take us to the retreat in October. Coming out of the retreat, again, as I've been observing all evening long, the plan is that have an annual update on the strategic plan and all 25 strategic actions on the website for you and your community. And for whatever reason, it's not working for Jamie. It may not be working for you, but it's working for me. And we'll make it work for you, promise. And on slide 28 and into the afternoon, we focused on policy, the cell phone policy and other policies. We focused on an information update. These were top of mind for principals. The new information system, Power School, what's going on there. And Clark and his team had more to share than that. They wanted to know about the cell phone policy and staffing matters. And so the afternoon was spent on all of these matters, as you can observe in the slide deck. And as Trustee Garrier observed, it was all well received. That is my report.
Thank you very much. Again, questions or comments on that? Thank you very much. And then we move on to the new teachers to LRSD professional learning. This took place again the day on August 29th.
Yeah, so on August 29th, we welcomed teachers that are new to LRSD. I had the opportunity to say hello, others on senior leadership, and the school and classroom support team welcomed the new teachers through the day. As you can see, they learned together at 900 St. Mary's, but they also learned in schools later in the day. So you see what was on offer there. It was another wonderful welcome into LRSD for our new teachers.
Excellent. Tell us how many new teachers we have this year.
Back to Assistant Superintendent Jean Paul's report.
190
209.
teachers and clinicians.
Very good. Chance for growing. So any questions or comments on that particular orientation? No? Moving then to the student accident semi-annual report. And Treasury Secretary Nikki will give us this information.
Yeah, so the report attached, this is our student accident report. So these are the incidents that have happened at our school sites that have been reported to our insurance provider hub. They are divided into three main categories: minor, moderate, and severe incidents. Minor incidents are injuries that result in scratch, bruises, scrapes, minor cuts, or minor sprains. Moderate classification are injuries that result in serious cuts, more severe sprains, or broken fingers. Random. And severe incidents are injuries to the eye, face, back, or injury or broken arms and legs, or limbs. And so from January 1st to December 30th, or from January 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2024, we had a total of 307 incidents, broken out between 166 minor injuries, 99 moderate injuries, and 42 severe injuries. That is my report.
Yes, Trustee Palmquist.
So colleagues recall this question that Trustee Simoniola and I asked about data on students injured by vehicles outside of schools. I believe that this report was referred to, or that request was referred to when this report came forward. Sort of looking for clarification. Is this the report that Trustee Simoniola and I asked for, or is this unrelated to that?
This is,
I'll take it. So this is not the report you're requesting. The report you're requesting is more detailed and will come to you at a later date. And will now be complete because we have both semi-annual reports have come to you. So now that both semi-annual reports have come to you, and now we are looking at the entire school year, we are going to be able to provide you with that detailed report you would like as it relates to vehicular accidents.
Thank you.
You have a timeline for that?
As soon as it can be, as soon as we've done the analysis, it'll come to you. I suspect sometime this fall.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions or comments from this information we've received? Good, thank you for providing that. We move then to the environmental liability report. And Secretary Treasurer Nikki will share this with us.
yeah, so this is a new report that is going to be presented to the trustees on an annual basis. This is a report that is actually has been, I guess, has come about by a new accounting standard in which all government reporting entities and governments are to assess and provide evaluation on any environmental liabilities that are part of their assets or their portfolios. And so this was the first year in which we commissioned a report with Finch Environmental. And this revolves around basically any assessed materials or circumstances in which an environmental liability would result if that particular asset has been decommissioned or shut down. And so for your records is the report for the 2023 school.
Yes, it's quite complicated. Any questions or comments on this report? Take it this is preliminary.
No, it's not preliminary.
Oh, okay.
That's the report for this year.
Any other questions or comments on this? Turner?
I had a really hard time understanding this. The estimated amount for LRSD Aero obligation. 95,408,000. I would like some more information about what this means.
Yeah, so from a liability perspective, if the division decides to shut down, say, a school or a facility and has to decommission that building, the valuation or the estimated cost of decommissioning that building would be what you see on that report. So in theory, if we were to shut down everything in the division, that liability would be $95 million.
That's everything.
Everything, yeah, but these are basically, this is a report for accounting purposes only. Yeah.
Very glad Trustee Turner asked that question
Yeah,
because I was
good.
thinking, I thought we had to
Good
reach in for
question.
$95 million for save that stuff. Trustee Seminole.
My question is different. I didn't understand the report and what it was speaking to, but there was also an ask from the province. That's why I was confused a little bit. Wasn't there an ask from the province to look at our inventory? I don't know if it was map or space. That's
Unrelated to this, yeah.
okay, yeah, that's why,
That's the space utilization.
okay, so this is different. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. We'll click on that. Then we move into policy. And we have policy review committee update. This is first one is for policy ILCD.
That's a J.
Hmm?
JLCD.
Hey,
Yes.
ah, there you
So,
go.
thank you.
I'll just take my reading glasses out of here.
There you go.
Also, I'll make this font bigger.
Thank you, Chair. So the first batch of policies that is coming to you are related to student health and safety. They are policies JLCD, JLCE1, and JLCE2. They have been the subject of collaboration between Metro Superintendents and Sandra Dalkey of the Unified Referral and Intake System, normally abbreviated to URIS. So this group has been meeting to update policies to reflect evolving procedures related to health and safety. Students with anaphylaxis and asthma particularly will be supported by standard healthcare plans. And what is different here is that principals will sign off on these plans prior to them being reviewed by the URIS nurse. These plans typically are, there's very little change from one student to the next. So principals will be signing off on these plans, and the changes were presented to principals and vice principals by Sandra Delkey in an overview on June 25th. And a recording of the meeting has been made available online for other staff to consult as necessary. The changes that are being brought forward this evening to you are required immediately to implement the new system. Other changes are anticipated later this year as the committee work continues. So part of the changes that you will see is that the three policies themselves have been shortened considerably. As they stood previously, the policies were about 12 pages long. They had a lot of detailed information related to technical and administrative procedures embedded in the policy itself. These have been moved out to separate administrative protocols for each of the policies. And that's going to be helpful to us in terms of being able to make changes very quickly as new processes are articulated at the provincial level. These changes will be brought to your attention, but will not need to come to you for approval before being implemented. Another important change in these policies is that reference has been added to inclusion with respect to the appropriate education programming standards of 2022. So an overview of all of the policy changes was presented to principals and vice principals at the August 27th leadership team meeting. And communication to all staff will occur after changes have been adopted by the board. So that is the end of the report for those three policies.
Thank you. So we will have a motion then. The following list of policies be amended. Policy JLCD, administering medicines to students, administration of prescription or over-the-counter medication with edits and revised administrative protocol with edits. Policy JLCE1, first aid and emergency medical care, administration of urgently required medication treatment with edits, revised administrative protocols with edits. Policy JLCE2, anaphylaxis with edits and revised administrative protocols with edits. So we've heard the explanations and we've all have the links as to what those changes are. A mover and a seconder. For these, please, Trustee Turner, Trustee Semenyola. Any questions or comments, discussion about these changes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Looks like it's carried. We've got all the votes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And we have another policy review matter. This is
Policy
Policy
GBEF,
GBEF JIC.
JICJ.
JICJ. There we go.
Thank you. This policy is coming to you for first reading this evening. And as announced on August the 15th, the Minister of Education has mandated school divisions to develop and implement policy related to the use of cell phones in schools by students and staff. Our draft policy emphasizes the importance of involving staff, students, and parents and guardians at each school in the development of common cell phone practices. This work will support multi-year strategic plan action 3.3 by educating students with respect to responsible and ethical cell phone use and helping them develop safe and healthy behaviors. Direct involvement of students in decision-making also supports multi-year strategic plan action 3.2. Principals and vice principals provided feedback on the policy at the August 27th leadership team meeting. There has subsequently been MailChimp communications sent to families and staff with a link to another feedback tool. There has already been very good uptake in providing feedback and asking questions about the policy. Our goal is to collate that feedback and distill it to form a second reading that would be brought for your consideration at the October 1st meeting. And the third reading needs to occur before November 1st. So that would likely be at the October 15th meeting. And that is in order to meet provincial implementation expectations.
Thank you very much. So the proposed board motion, the board motion will be that policy GBEF/JICJ, use of cell phones in schools, reviewed by the Policy Review Committee, receive first reading and be further reviewed in committee and brought back for second and third reading at a future date. Mover and a seconder for this, please. Trustee Kolichuk, Trustee Walker. Again, have any discussion on this matter? The Nordheim, Nemeth, and then Semenya.
Was there any discussion regarding how administrators might be involved in conflict that came from cell phone use outside of schools? Like there's been an inordinate amount of time spent on issues through social media because schools were having those cell phones used during the school day. But now that it's completely removed from the school day, that would free up a fair amount of time for administrators if they don't have to deal with that. It's not mentioned in the policy, and I don't know if it can be expanded in the parent responsibility, but I would hate to see us having to deal with the issues that are no longer under our jurisdiction. So.
Very good, thank you. In terms of addressing issues that come up, we have referenced other policies like the student behavior policy, supporting student behavior, and other policies. There have been some comments as well come through the feedback form already, questioning about what consequences will look like or how schools will work to really develop students' skills, their attitudes. Cell phones aren't going away, and they need to develop responsible behaviors around cell phones. So we certainly are looking at that as part of multi-year strategic plan action 3.3 at an information literacy continuum. Part of that is knowing how to use the technology responsibly.
My concern is more for communication to parents who turn to school administration to deal with those issues that come between students. And so some guidelines for parents And then outside of the policy, a discussion that might be held with administration in terms of what their communication back to parents would be. I'm just thinking that this is an opportunity to reduce some of the inordinate amount of time that they've had to spend on these kinds of conflicts.
Initial feedback from schools that have already implemented a cell phone ban or restrictions. Certainly, the assistant superintendent in Hanover spoke to the experience in their schools, and the College Béliveau spoke to the experience at College Béliveau last year. There does seem to be a reduction in the number of conflicts that need to be managed. I don't believe either of them said that it disappeared completely.
No, and I'm not as naive as I might appear, but I think that a more specific communication within the policy that's directed at parents would be helpful. I'm not sure what the wording would be. I defer that to you, but that's that would be something that I would like to have considered.
Nemeth.
Yeah, so just following up on that, I'm gonna add cell phone use to our list of presentations. I know we have a couple of high schools that have had pilot projects around having them not used in the classrooms, and I know it's kind of taken a big shift, but I'd be really curious to know what those pilot projects look like as we go into a full ban, as the word in the document uses. And then just another comment, and then I have a question. I see that one of the resources was a book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. I just finished reading the book and would encourage any of my colleagues to consider picking it up. It is a really interesting, and you'll be able to relate to it, pretty much all of us, because we were raised to learn through play, whereas we can all relate to having kids or grandkids who are being raised largely learning through phones. So play-based learning versus phone-based learning. And it's a really interesting, stark look at the two, and it is there's just multiple aha moments in there for me. So I would encourage you to take a look. My question is related to things like Apple Watches that are like a cell phone, but a watch. And is that something that is going to be reflected in this?
So currently, the directive that came from the minister didn't reference wearable technology like Apple Watches and others. That is a question that has also come up in the initial feedback, and one that we'll be needing to seek clarification on. It will be important for us to talk with our colleagues and other metro school divisions to learn what they're planning. But this really, it really illustrates what the limitations of a ban are. Because the minute that you have a ban, you're looking for loopholes and ways of getting around it. And we might think of Apple Watches and a couple of other ones that are common now, but the industry is looking to make their product accessible. So they're going to continue to develop other tools. So our emphasis on developing responsible behaviors in youth is really what the long-term outcome needs to be.
Thank you. Trustee Seminole?
Yeah, I think one of them was already asked by Trustee Nordham regarding where does our jurisdiction end, right? Well, it's often in an authorized spot, you give it back when somebody's leaving. Where does our jurisdiction end as we as a policy state? The other thing is, how do we police this? If somebody has a cell phone and it's in their bag, it's not an authorized use, like, how does a teacher police this? I'm just having a hard time, the way my brain works, to conceptualize how do we have a policy, yes, that guides how, you know, students' behavior, parents, and building good behaviors with cell phone, but how do we police this? And is there a wording that can be added there? Because looking at the announcement, the letter from the the government, it was really nothing.
So what you have been talking about policing it, this is an activity that could quickly eat up all teachers and administrators' time.
Yeah, and that's what,
That's why we're putting the emphasis on having discussions, students, staff, families, and schools to develop common policies so that common cell phone practices so that there is engagement in the process. It improves a sense of participation, ownership of the guidelines, and certainly understanding. So there will be, just as there are other rules to enforce in school, there will be occasions where rules do need to be enforced. And we will proceed really depending on the circumstances. And we have in the policy referenced policy JK, student behavior in schools. It's the same way that you know that one consequence doesn't fit. There are many circumstances that need to be taken into consideration that depending on the developmental state of the individual, what their needs are, other factors, it's not as simple as saying, you do this, this happens.
yeah, no, I was looking at the same policy you're referencing.
Yeah.
As I was asking the question, because the last thing we want is sitting here in February or March, say we need another 6 FTE because, you know, we have to manage this policy and our staff don't have enough time to do that and instruction. I think having that conversation then, like, we already need FTE. I just don't want something like this to be one of the reasons why we're talking now.
Mhm. No, and it can get silly. There, in a workshop that I attended, reference was made to one of the large American high school campuses where one of the vice principals rides around on a golf cart looking for kids on cell phones.
It's
And I don't think that's a good use of their skill set.
Yes, trustee, Nordheim, second question.
It's actually just a comment because I think it's an empathetic comment to our IT department, Clark and his work. Like, bring your own device has been in effect for a long time. There's been a lot of work done in this division on the education piece and more to happen. But I empathetically, I don't think there was an acknowledgement of how much work had already been achieved. Particularly, I can only speak for our division. So I just wanted Clark to be able to take that back to your department to say, we recognize that that they let the, you know, horse out of the barn and hadn't really checked with people who had been doing the work. So please pass along our appreciation to that.
Adding on to that, trustee Nordheim, the province has committed to update their framework regarding information technology skills. And that's that framework dates from 2017, so 7 years. It's a long time when it comes to technology. But another curriculum that's currently under review is physical education health curriculum. That there's a lot of online safety that is covered in that curriculum. We rely a lot on Kids in the Know as a resource that is updated more regularly than the curriculum, which dates from 2002, before social media was invented. So we're looking forward to seeing what that curriculum will look like when it is updated.
Is
there any way that through this process, we could explore maybe our own role in fostering cell phone dependency and addiction, even amongst parents and adults? Like, parents have to download this app to participate in their kids, whatever. Like, there's so many apps, there's so many ways that you have to interact with school that are basically cell phone based. instead of just like plain Jane email. And it would be nice if it's somewhat out of the scope of this, but like in a holistic perspective, like children being addicted to phones is stemmed out of their parents being addicted to phones. And part of the reason people find it difficult, as a person who's struggled with addiction, I'm addicted to my phone, but I have beaten like 2 or 3 other addictions in my life. And I could say that like, if I lived in a world where I had to drink like a little bit of alcohol just to like, do my job or whatever, it would have made it impossible for me to quit drinking alcohol like recreationally. And so I think that maybe we should take a holistic view like that towards stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're part of the problem. Sure.
Certainly something to look at, think about. So, thank you. It's a very important issue. It's I know a lot of parents and media are certainly interested in it. Our employees are looking for guidance, so thank you for working on this. And we'll keep the information flowing, and we'll have a good policy that complies with the parental regulations by November. I'm quite confident. So thank everyone for their time. Having said that, we still have to vote on it. We had a motion quite a while ago. So all those in favor of the motion? Still on there?
Yep.
Okay, super. Now we move to another policy, and this one is a moment. This one is regarding child abuse registry checks. So perhaps you can tell us about that as well.
Yes, this is a quick one. Policy GDFA is being brought forward for revision. The Winnipeg Police Service has recently adopted a new system whereby criminal record checks are only valid for 90 days from date of issue. Consequently, changes are required to this policy because we have been accepting criminal record checks within 12 months of date of issue. So the policy is shortening that length of time that the document is valid to match what is being done by Winnipeg Police Service. Parallelly, although the similar change has not been made by Child and Family Services regarding child abuse registry checks, it was felt that having a 90-day window for that document as well would reduce confusion between the two, and it would also ensure that we have the most current information available when hiring or approving coaches or volunteers.
Thank you. So the motion is that policy GCFA-GDFA, criminal record check and child abuse registry check, teaching, non-teaching staff reviewed by the policy review committee be amended with edits. Mover and a seconder, please. Trustee Turner, Trustee Kolachuk. Any questions or comments on what we're doing here? It's quite straightforward. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? All the numbers. Weird. Okay. That has been passed. We're down now to all of the policy reviews. We're now into correspondence. School board correspondence that has been received. It's all listed there. I haven't heard from anyone, or we haven't heard from anyone that anything else needs to be pulled out for discussion, but this is the first board meeting, so anything that anyone saw there that they'd like to highlight, yes, please, trustee.
Just like to bring back to trustee Nemeth's suggestion about my proposal that we look into the development levy as a concept, possible tool for funding future school expansions. I noticed in the correspondence from the MSBA that there's, first call is October 13th. Would that sort of, for clarification, would that require like a motion from a board or something? If we wanted to?
There's a policy that is, or there's I believe in that same document, there is a process by which it outlines the process by which you would submit a resolution.
Right.
And they're doing it slightly differently this year, but it's a draft. So typically what would happen is the board would adopt by motion that there's going to be a resolution forwarded. And then it would be submitted the way it's outlined on that memo that's dated June 19th.
To that.
Something you're interested in, then you could draft that. And
Yes.
provide it
submit
to
it for
myself
that
and
meeting.
vice chair and
Camera or
superintendent.
regular board meeting.
Yeah, we can put that in, discuss it at a meeting.
Okay, thank you. That's wanted to tell everyone I tend to do.
Excellent. And any other correspondence that anyone wishes to discuss? Correspondence received, correspondence sent. We also have correspondence from the MSBA. So I think that covers it all. Item. Bylaw 2024-2025-001, religious instruction. Nicole Van Bellingham. Chair provided context, proposed board motion. The request and the signed petitions which we have for religious instruction. Nicole Van Bellingham, so we're all aware that it's something that we do occasionally that is mandated by, I believe, the Public Schools Act.
Yep.
That once the petitions are signed and submitted, that we authorize this. So the motion is bylaw 202-42025-001 being a bylaw to authorize the instruction of religion at a Code Van Bellingham during the 2024-2025 school year, received first reading and brought back for second and third reading at a future date. We're in a seconder for this, please. Trustee Kolachuk, Trustee Mignola. Questions or comments? Unanimous?
Because I'm using the web-based version of eScribe, it looks like somebody read my mind and do all three readings at once. So.
Yeah, I was thinking that as I was reading it, actually.
Yeah, so I'd like to suggest that there was a time that we
Yeah.
received these one by one. Given that it's a requirement of the Public Schools Act, we then moved to a process by which we would do all three readings at one time. That way the school is notified sooner and we would be good to go. So I'm just, what's going on?
Well, just have it come to the board, the board chair.
Yes,
Yeah, so we can explain the confusion here. I'll have Assistant Superintendent Anderson, who supports the school, explain the situation.
So originally in the draft agenda, this appeared as all three readings at this meeting. I requested that it only be given first reading at this meeting because in conversation with the principal, I have serious concerns about their ability to accommodate it in terms of space. École Van Bellingham, it has continued to grow as we're waiting for École Sage Creek Plum Vista to open. And providing a space over the lunch hour may or may not be possible. We need to really roll up our sleeves to look to see if it could be accommodated.
But the passing of the motion presumes that we can still pass the motion, but they may find that they don't have
So
space. So
if this receives first reading tonight, I can go back with the principal and do planning. And if we can come up with a solution, it can go for the other two readings. And if it doesn't, it won't be able to.
Satisfied with that?
I guess I'm just thinking we can still do all three readings, which gives them
Well, then,
the ability to move forward. And then if they can't find this, I'm just trying to save us some time. So if that's the way you want to approach it, I'm not going to.
I think this has to come for first read, given what Assistant Superintendent Anderson has observed. It comes for first reading. We find a path forward, comes for second and third reading. If we knew we didn't have this concern, it would absolutely move through three readings. But we have concerns relative to space, and the Public Schools Act speaks to an ability for a school to accommodate.
Mr. Seminola?
Yeah, then I mean, if we were willing to do all three readings today, and you think there's concerns around space, is there an option to defer this then instead of first reading we approve and we find out there's an issue, then second reading we say we don't approve? Cause my understanding is that according to Public School Act, we should do this. I mean, at one time Ryan asked last year or 2 years ago, can I vote no? And we basically said
No.
we can't. This was more of a procedural thing. So if there's an issue, I don't understand the logic and.
We still have a
One that
process of first, second, and third reading that can give
Yeah.
time for these considerations to be.
You know, Assistant Superintendent Anderson and I talked earlier today. We could have pulled it, you're right, out of the agenda. We decided to approve. I've decided to agree with Anderson's suggestion. I'm recommending we work with the assistant superintendent that has to get back to the school and work with parents.
Steve,
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that.
so it's a bit of a different way of doing it, but we have the motion. If anyone has any objections, I'll call the vote. All those in favor for the first two? Any opposed? Like that has been passed. Leave it in your capable hands, Assistant Superintendent Anderson. And that brings us to the public forum. Here. Public question period, I believe we now call it. Verified virtual participants, verified in-person participants can bring forward questions for clarification regarding items on today's agenda. If questions are not related to tonight's agenda, please reach out to the division by emailing us. And we have some members of the public, and we have some members of the public who are present. If either of you have any questions for us, we'd happy to answer them or try at least.
Questions?
I just want to. There's a time limit on this, by the way.
I'll just publicly say, today, thank you, Trustee Nemeth, for chair, and we're really looking forward to the new chair and the new vice chair going forward, and all the best to a great year.
Appreciate that. Anyone online who is a verified?
We're good.
We're good?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience. I'm just a little rusty. I'm getting used to back to doing this again. So thank you for that. It still went well. And I also wanted to take a moment to thank outgoing president or outgoing chair, Senator Nemeth, for her wonderful work over the last few years. We faced some tremendous challenges together, and her leadership was very inspiring. Certainly enjoyed working alongside her as vice chair for the last few years, and I thank all of you for trust again you placed in me and vice chair, and we hope to have a very positive and very productive school year ahead. So thanks. On that note, I call it close. Thank you again, everyone.
No, I clicked on yes.
Why did you show it upstairs?
No, I clicked on yes.
Sure.
I don't believe-
You abstain.